Welcome to Pound for Pound ATL, arguably the best place to get facts and opinions on your Atlanta Falcons. And absolutely the best place to get your opinions in. The guys are here, the chat is ready, and the conversation starts now.
What is going on, football fans? We back live once again with another rendition of the Pound for Pound. I'm J.R. Clark, back in the chair. Glad to be here. Jimmy, what you got for me?
It's your boy Jimbo Dean, a.k.a. Jimbo Slice, a.k.a. Jimmy Obama. Now, you can call me whichever one of those you want, but don't call me no New Orleans Saints fan. Terry F. and Arthur Smith are starting to get a little vocal here, Mike. What's going on, man?
Hey, man, the word of the week is chatter. The word of the week is chatter. Terry F. been chattering. I like to see that Terry F. been chattering because we've been wondering. We've been wondering here at the station. You know, we've been like, hey, when are we going to hear a little bit more from our general manager? What's our strategy? What does he feel about this team? You know, it's so many questions that I wouldn't say a lot of questions got answered, but I think we got a better picture or a better view into what the season could potentially be. So Terry F. talked, Arthur Smith talked. We got a lot to talk about. Toby D, what you got for him?
Hey, I'll tell you one thing we do know about Terry F. Baby. It's been revealed that Matt Ryan was one of his draws coming to Atlanta Falcons. And, hey, that to me, fellas, is a ringing endorsement for what they feel about the Matt Ryan. And Arthur Smith followed that up saying that Matt Ryan was one of the players he was excited about working with, along with Calvin Ridley, Chris Lindstrom, and Younghoe Koo. Mm-hmm. So, hey, I'm taking them as ringing endorsements.
Younghoe Koo, baby.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I like the I do take those as endorsements in a sense. Like, I think these guys, they pick their words carefully because they know they're fixing to get, like, the entire conversation is going to get nitpicked and taken apart and stuff like that. So I think a lot of times that's why you end up getting, you know, next to nothing out of them because they don't want to inadvertently give anything away. But, you know, right. the information that we are getting from them, you know, is, you know, they do keep mentioning, you know, Matt Ryan. They do keep mentioning players like Calvin Ridley. The media team itself, they keep releasing like these little like vignette video type deals, showing us Matt Ryan and them's first, you know, face-to-face meeting and all this other stuff. So all this stuff is calculated, right? It's as calculated as much as anything else. It's just like every week when I sit down and you know, make these thumbnails for the videos, you know, even that's calculated as far as like what do I think is going to, you know, draw y'all's attention, so to speak, or convey what we're going to be talking about that night. You know, these things aren't just thrown together. And in a sense, like who are we, right? We're just people in our respective houses. We're fans that are wanting to talk about the Falcons, you know, and if we're putting in that kind of thought into what we're doing here, how much more thought is going into, you know, the professional side of this, right? You know, these guys that get paid millions of dollars to do this and get paid to make $1 million decisions, you know? So Speed Falcons already said, he says, "What's up, fellas?" He said, "Y'all are a bit early." This is kind of going to be our off-season schedule, right? You know, 7 o'clock on a Wednesday. That gets us, you know, done and back to our families, so to speak. So we hope y'all like this time slot. This is a time slot that works good for us, you know, right now. So we hope y'all are enjoying that as well. But anyway, back to our illustrious head coach and our illustrious general manager. One thing that he brought up, and I wanted to get y'all's opinion, I got the basic transcript that AJC posted up that I think it was D. Orlando Ledbetter that put up in there. Are y'all at all concerned with the fact that Fontenot, the vast majority of his background is on player personnel, like pro side, right? Do you think that that's going to like hamper him going into the, you know, college draft at all? Do you think that's going to, cloud. I don't know what I'm really trying to say here. I don't think it's going to hamper him, but what effect do you think that that's going to have? I guess is what I'm getting at.
Well, I'll say this much. If you guys don't mind me going first. I doubt that's going to hamper him at all because he's already showing this is why he took his time building the team that he has, and that's why I've been so much looking into those guys. The biggest thing that I noticed about that conference call is that he's already shown a huge trust in Kyle Smith. So you guys, if you have not gotten a chance to know who Kyle Smith is, other than him coming from the Washington Redskins, I do suggest you really do some studying up on him. He said that he was a guy that's already been handling a lot of the meetings that have been going on between him and DeJuan Jones, who's also part of the college scouting. And I didn't even know that they kept one of our big dogs, Anthony Robinson,
I saw that too.
Who's been with the Atlanta Falcons 13 years, who interviewed, as a matter of fact, for the GM job. But I feel very confident with him putting the trust in these guys to handle business while he deals with, other aspects of the business, such as these contracts that are definitely going to be huge, how they're going to deal with this cap space coming up.
Right now, who was the guy that we brought in from Texas? Was that Chris Olsen? Is that okay? So
Chris Olsen.
He's a supposed cap guru, right? As far as what they've done already. Obviously, the bigger news we had to show 2 weeks ago where we kind of started to dip our toes into the free agency, and we put out there that they were probably going to cut Ricardo Allen and Alan Bailey, and sure enough, almost less than a week later, they done just that. So we've already freed up about $11 or $12 million in cap space. Now we've accrued some dead money from Rico's deal, but not much. We were able to, like I said, clear up about a little over half of what we needed to get under the cap space. So there's still going to be some work to be done. So they're going to have a tough time, in a sense, really hiding a lot of their intentions if they go the route of restructures to get under the cap space, right?
Right.
And I encourage y'all that if y'all hadn't went and checked it out, last week I did an interview with the gentleman who runs SpoTrack. I know a lot of people, use that website to get their contract information. I sat down and had a good interview with him about the Falcons cap space, and I encourage y'all to go back and watch that if you hadn't, not just because of my pretty face on it.
Yeah. but I think with that interview, if y'all ain't went and seen it yet, I think that was one of the biggest video episode that we don't put out this offseason that when it comes to real good information and a lot of questions to get answered before you ask them in live or ask on one of the shows in the comment. JL got some really good background information, and if y'all ain't seen that yet, that's one of those must sees. And Chris Olsen that coming from Houston, I think this is gonna be one of his better jobs. He's gonna be because he did an outstanding job in Houston. You go do that track record, man. But this is gonna be easy as far as going back to you talking about Terry Fontenot on just being on the scout side of it. This is gonna make it easier for him to be more of a scout / general manager, more so. They're dealing with that cap. You got a Chris Olsen in the building. So I think it's a positive on that.
We spent 13 years or so with a cap guy who was trying to be a scout guy. You know what I'm saying?
There you go.
With
there you go. Now it's the opposite now.
Now it seems like we may have the opposite, and I'm really interested to see how that transitions out, right?
That's what you want, too. I think that's what you want.
Right. And I think that's a good point, JR, as far as, Terry Fontenot, his pro background. I think him getting Kyle Smith from the Redskins, what we'll find is that might be one of those underrated moves that could help in this transformation of this organization. I tell you why. One thing that I think Kyle Smith got a bad deal is that there was a new regime in the Washington. He was kind of a part of the old regime, so he kind of fell out of favor with the new regime, right? But I think when he was with the old regime, we saw, minus the Chase Young, his ability to draft good, solid defensive players.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
yeah.
I think he was the guy that scouted the talent in the SEC and really took a lot of Alabama players. You know, the Jonathan Allens, the Darren Paynes, you know, a lot of Deron Paynes, a lot of those guys, right? Those are tough football players, right? So I think Terry Fontenot going and poaching that guy probably tells you a little bit about his trust in him and his ability to find those kind of, you know, just gritty football players. Because we are a team, we need those fill in the gap guys. Like I said, we're going to need to replace Alan Bailey. You know, and Alan Bailey, he didn't do much, but we're still going to need to produce. You know, we're going to need to redraft those snaps. So, like I said,
and that's the deal.
Like I said,
you bring it up with Alan Bailey. I mean, as much as we came on here show in and show out talking about the lack of talent of Ricardo Allen, you still gonna have to replace those snaps, like period, point blank. And you're also gonna have to replace that leadership. Like Ricardo Allen may not have been the most talented guy out in the field, and you know he may not always been able to get, you know, in the right position, you know, because of, you know, lack of size and speed and stuff like that. But he knew where he was supposed to be, and he knew where his guys were supposed to be. You know, he was he was that you know, quarterback of the secondary, and that type of stuff showed when he wasn't on the field. You know, those years that he was you know, on injury reserve, you know, it showed how much, you know, Dan Quinn and the coaching staff at the time trusted him, you know, with that play call, you know. So it is definitely something that they're going to have to replace, you know, which is actually the subject of this week's Falcon Eye Views. You know, as I take a deeper look at some of the safeties out there via draft and free agency, but it's definitely something we can get into tonight. I'm not prohibiting that talk. That's definitely something that if the conversation gets there, definitely something we can talk about this evening. Now, if it looks like I'm like reading something crazy, it's you know, it's because I am. I have the article pulled up in front of me because there's some stuff that I want to talk about, you know, out of this Zoom press conference. The question was having this high of a draft pick and taking the best player or trading back. And Terry Fontenot's quote was, "It's a prime spot to be in. Being at the number 4 spot, there are so many different scenarios. There are going to be some really good players there at 4. Now, here's the kicker part. We can move up, we can move down, and acquire more picks. There's just a lot of different scenarios to really go through. It's a prime spot to be in. It's not somewhere we want to be, and very often with this team. So we're going to take advantage of that, and we're open to all possibilities." What are y'all's feelings on the part that caught me was moving up?
He did mention that.
Look, we could chalk it up as the GM equivalent of you know, coach talk. You know, he's not giving us anything, so to speak, but he is saying a lot by even entertaining the idea in a public forum of moving up. Like, would y'all like lose your minds if he moved up to 2 or even 1? I would. I'll
start it off. I'll start it off from the standpoint that what it tells me is this: potentially, Zach Wilson, those guys might have a little bit of a higher grade. They might be higher on one of these players that we just kind of, Trevor Lawrence, because depending on who you ask, some people feel like Zach Wilson is a better quarterback than Trevor Lawrence. Again, with Terry F., we got to trust him as a scout, because this is literally going to be one of those decisions where we got to trust a guy that's he's scouted a lot of these players in college. He scouted a lot of guys for the Saints. And I can't really bet too hard against a guy who's created a blueprint that successfully worked against the Atlanta Falcons. As much as I hate to give those guys, you know, with the other stadium credit, you know, they have been successful in beating us, out scheming us, and getting players that are ready to come in and play a little bit quicker than we are. So something to watch, though.
Oh yeah, no doubt. And you know, like I said before, or like I alluded to, man, I don't know. I mean, to me, you only move up for one position and one position alone. and that's a quarterback. Like if you feel like, if you feel like
Right.
you've got to have a guy, like you've got to have, we'll use the controversial guy. If you've got to have a Justin Fields, and you don't think he's going to be there at 4, then you pull that trigger. Right. But man, I'm not even sure what kind of draft capital you would give up. I mean, it's not a lot of spots, but it's still moving up high end into the draft. And I'm not sure if I'm a first-time GM, if I'm trying to pull that kind of a trigger.
Yeah, it's going to be more guaranteed money the farther up you go too. So you're going to end up having to pay that guy. And I honestly, I kind of feel good that he came out and said that, because the last couple of years or so with TD, we really didn't feel like we had any options. We really didn't. He really couldn't give us no option. We kind of had to stay and do whatever we had to do to kind of fill in those spots to make to get around our core pieces. But now, finally, we got options now, and it feels good to be sitting here as a Falcon fan finally and say, I really, honestly, which way it go, I'm okay with it, because I haven't felt this in a very long time. And I kind of like Mike alluded to, and that JR, I kind of trust him. I kind of trust him over there. So if we're gonna put all the eggs in one basket, kind of like we've been in the position we've been in with TD and DQ. We all had eggs in one basket, just waiting. Now we can do whatever we want to do, when we want to do, how we want to do it, and we be open to talk to anybody we want to talk to. And that kind of feel good, man, because that tell you right there, things are now changing in Dirty Bird Nation, and boy, do we need it.
Right.
Now I'll say this much, and I'm curious if anybody in the chat can help me out with who was the number 1 player when Jonathan Ogden was drafted, because that was who was number 1 on the big board of Isaac Newsom. So it's going to really depend on who they have their guy is on that big board, because what we might be looking at as big boards and what we've been getting, draft rankings and stuff from may not be what big board they have. And I think it depends on whoever they're looking at, because I think they have an idea of who that guy might be. They're going to be monitoring this guy because they feel that this guy's a once-in-a-generational type player. So whatever that player is and that they have on their big board, and adjustments will be made. But whoever's on that big board that they have, it could be a quarterback, and it could be Fontenot Sewell.
Right.
Who knows?
No, you're right.
Right.
You're definitely right about that.
Yeah.
If they feel like they need to jump the Jets to get Fontenot Sewell, because that's like if they feel like the Jets are going to stick with Sam Darnold and try to solidify that offensive line, if they feel like what they need to get this draft is Fontenot Sewell, because you got to remember, Arthur Smith's background is O-line.
O-line, baby. Yes,
and
sir.
Over there in Tennessee, they had a Jack Conklin. They had a Taylor Lewan. Okay? So,
yes,
I mean, that's something else that we need to keep in mind. So if it is, a Fontenot Sewell, then he may feel like he needs to jump the Jets at 3.
Yeah, but okay. So let's add one more thing to that though, because I think that's a great point. Arthur Smith, offensive line, Fontenot Sewell. I'm really starting to warm up to that from the standpoint that if he says I may have to trade up or trade back, that gives me one or two things. An offensive lineman feels comfortable with another offensive lineman, and one thing I'm sure of is I hate to go down on my Georgia Bulldogs buddy, but he won't be drafting another Isaiah Wilson on the offensive line. He's not looking for another Isaiah Wilson. He's looking for a Fontenot Sewell who is there to play football and possibly dominate on the offensive line. Because when we go back to Terry F's interview, I think what sticks out to me is he said that this is a team with a lot of holes. He's honest. He hit us with that honesty button, man. He said, hey, this is a team with a lot. Not that we didn't know that, but to hear him say that, it's like I've assessed. I've talked to these guys. I've got a feel for the culture. We're a team that I believe we can win, but we're going to need a lot of help. So I think what is more probable, either Fontenot Sewell, Arthur Smith, or we really start to dig back into these trade back scenarios again, where we really start to look at how we can fill gaps. Because another guy that I really feel like if we trade back, I know we're really heavy on the cornerback position, but I really want pound for pound family to start warming up to the possibility of a Dean Pease pass rusher. And I really have my eye on Azeez Ojulari right now as a guy that could potentially sneak and not only get to the quarterback, but force fumbles. I think we need a record on defense. And I'm really starting to think that if we trade back and get more picks, and to be honest with you, let's be honest with you. If we trade back, it may not have to be 19 at Washington, because this rarely happens. Those Panthers look like they are just chomping at the bit for somebody to trade with somebody and give up something. So we may not even have to go to 19 or 29. What would be ideal is if we get one of these teams 8 to 12 that give us something, we trade back and we start to get a little bit more, because that's how you build depth. Because I'm gonna go on my high horse on this. I'm gonna ramble a little bit on this, but we ask ourselves: the NFL is set up for teams to have quick turnarounds. When we look at the Super Bowl team, we look at that 2016 team. I think the lifeblood of that team, outside of obviously Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, was the rookies coming in ready to play. Deion Jones coming in, being lights out, providing that extra spark, because this is still a team, we rest on this hill, that lost a lot of close games. If you give us gaps and we keep the core of the majority of our players, this is literally a time to like really figure out, all right, we could go either way, but again, man, this will be interesting to see how this plays out.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and jump into this chat, because VTW done tipped us $20 to ask us a question. Yes, sir. VTW was very appreciative tonight. Yeah, man, dead up, dude. That's awesome. So anyway, he says, "What's up, guys? We need to trade down and get Micah Parsons. Parsons is the best defensive player in the draft. Parsons on the opposite side of Jones is a starter getting the defense better. We need to build that defense up." So, I'm going to give you 1 second. Sorry about that. Anyway, Micah Parsons is a guy who, if we do decide to trade down, if he's there in like the 12 range, say we trade with San Francisco or something, right? I'm snapping up Micah Parsons all day long, because Parsons is still figuring out what type of player he is, so to speak. But what I tell you what he is right now, in the early stages, he is a fireball coming downhill, is what he is. A run, pass. He is a Dean Pease blitzing machine, is what he is.
Sir.
And I would sign him up to blitz from all over the place. So I would have no problem whatsoever taking Parsons, provided it's in, like, we build up a little bit of draft capital to do it,
Yeah,
so,
there you go.
Sites BTW says, "What's going on, guys? What's up, Sites?"
What's up, Sites?
Says, "What's up, gentlemen?" Same thing with Jaden. He says, "What's up, y'all? What's going on, guys? We appreciate y'all being here." ATL Paris says, "I really think we're going to trade down and not draft a QB. But hey, guys, I love the show. Thank you. We love y'all being here." Same thing with Jay Holland and King 7. Andrew Bato says, "What's good, pound for pound? Family, how's everybody doing tonight?" He says, "Hey, Jimbo, please don't call me no New Orleans Saints fans. We're going to have a shirt made for that."
Yeah, I'm about to say. I thought he was about to call me one, and then you was about to see fires coming out my ears and burn these headphones off my head. Don't get me fired up. Not on that one. Y'all know how I feel about it.
Archangel's in the building. What's going on, Archangel? He says,
"What's
Terry
up, Arch?"
and Arthur throwing up smoke screens so we don't know what they're really drafting. It says, and I know that's the point, right? It's straight up and down lion season right now. As far as the NFL is concerned, no, they have no interest in telling us anything not of real merit. It doesn't benefit them to do that.
Right.
Nesbagon says, "But he definitely missed a lot of tackles. But we also definitely one of the leaders," talking about Ricardo Allen. Jamil Riggin says, "What's up, fellas? Best show on YouTube. Thank you. We appreciate that.
I appreciate
tell
that.
your friends.
If
you don't have any friends, you can tell us. We'll be your friend." King 7 says, "I hope we draft back to round pick. Trade back to round 8 or 9. We can still get Trey Lance or Zach and get a second round pick. Grab Travis Etienne or Javonte Williams, and then Zaven Collins is a complete monster. Collins is a monster who is starting to walk his way up the draft board.
That's right.
And hold on, didn't they call Jimbo crazy? They called Jimbo crazy a while ago on a couple of draft houses because he brought him to everybody's attention. When Jimbo mentioned him, I said I had not heard about him.
Why you had to
but
go
once
and do
I watched
that?
this
We
film,
probably could have got him in the fourth round if you hadn't said something.
You know, in Pound Pie Jail, we be doing factual stuff. And
That's
then once we get factual, we start to spit our opinions out about it. And if we're ahead of the game when we going factual,
we're just going to go with it.
Everybody's just going to have to deal with it. But I wish we can get him, though.
Hey, and Jimbo, they called us crazy, but they listened to the whole thing. Love it.
That's Tony. Go ahead, Jay.
Tony writes up in the building. What's going on? Tony says, basically,
Tony.
Fontenot
Big dog, what's up, baby?
just covered all bases without really saying anything. Yeah, of course. Like I said, it's the GM version of coach speak. He's not telling us anything. They have an idea what they want to do, but they're not giving away any hints. No, it doesn't behoove them to give away any hints, right? Let's see.
Right.
Yeah.
Going back down, said he also followed it up with, hold on, I missed it. There it is. Says, but whomever they're looking at, if the Falcons get an offer from a team they can't pass up, do you think they turn it down? I don't think so. If somebody comes at them with the house, like you take the house, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's like I got a house next door to me, right? With this real estate craze that's going on right now. A house that is the exact same floor plan as mine went for almost $100,000 more than I bought my house for. I mean, granted, I bought my house like almost 13 years ago, but still, holy Pete.
Well, you sitting into some money, JR. Right. So we know that. You know that now. This is what I wanted to ask Joe. Which one of y'all? It was JR or Toby D now. One of y'all ain't too fun on Mac Jones.
I'm not.
That's JR. Go ahead. I'll get yours.
This is my theory, though.
I want to go.
It's got less to do with Matt Jones and more to do with the fact that Matt Jones plays behind an NFL pro-ready offensive line with NFL pro-ready Heisman-winning wide receivers and all Madden defense.
Oh.
You see, like, I'm not saying that he's not talented. It's just I've watched time and time again these quarterbacks come out of these high-end schools that get all the talent. Mm-hmm. They get into the NFL and where everybody's pretty much on an even playing field as far as talent is concerned, and they don't look like what you drafted. Like, honestly, be honest with me.
Oh, yeah.
How is Tua Tagovailoa looking down in Miami?
He definitely not looking like he was looking in Alabama.
You see what I'm saying?
But this was my thing with Matt Jones. His similarities to Ryan Tannehill is almost dead on. And then I go to Arthur Smith, and then I think, why not get a guy like that and let him sit for a year or so, and then you coming out of that. But see, now that you brought up that point, it just was a tweet by you. But now that you bring up that point, I understand where you're coming from now. See, you can look good down there, you know what I'm saying, when you got the Cadillac all fully serving. You can drive that Cadillac good. You can throw it anywhere and there, go get it, make you look good. So I got where you're coming from now. So I understand that, but he sure favored Ryan Tannehill to me. That's who he looked like to me. That's the only point I had.
Right. Now, like I said, don't get me wrong. Matt Jones could come in and be, a great quarterback, a solid quarterback. Hell, he can end up being a Hall of Fame quarterback. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But I just look at, if we're going to go on looking at, what the past has shown us, the past that shown us that quarterback is a crapshoot to begin with at the best of times. And now you're going to take a quarterback who is arguably behind and surrounded by the best talent that the college football has to offer, and then go throw him on a team that maybe don't have that kind of talent. But I will say this: if you draft him, he is a good candidate to sit for a year or two. And I will say this though: if I'm drafting anybody for a Arthur Smith, Ryan Tannehill-esque position, I'm drafting Trey Lance. I'm drafting a guy who could make Arthur Smith's, play action game, even that more threatening. Right. But either way, that's just me, right?
Yeah.
What are y'all? Some of y'all's opinions on Matt Jones or Like, what round would you take him in? Because I ain't taking him in a second.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. See, and that's another thing is the round two. What y'all thoughts on it, fella?
I'm sorry. I'm in the minority on Mac Jones. I think Mac Jones is a third round talent at best, from the standpoint that I think. And I'll be honest with you, Mac Jones made every throw to every open receiver to contest. He made every throw that I think has him worthy of being a top 15 pick. But see, the problem I have with Mac Jones is more of I look at the modern NFL and I don't really see him coming in just blazing out the gate. So I think guys like that deserve to be in the third round because I don't think that he's a generational talent. I think he's a really good player in a good system, and you'll see the Mac Jones that you saw in college. But Mac Jones is one of those guys that if you see him in Cincinnati or you see him in just certain situations, not that they would need him in Cincinnati. They got Joe Burrow, but
that situation.
If you see,
it's
just he's got to be in the right situation with the right coach, with the right type of patient. And we don't have the luxury to even do that kind of stuff. Listen, that type of stuff is fool's gold in a year where, let's be honest, this draft, there is more fool's gold in this draft than any other draft with COVID, with opt-outs, with all this type of stuff.
They got their work cut out.
Listen,
they got their work cut out.
When you go out west, will Big Jimbo be at sometime and you out there looking for gold, you better put your hand out there and be grabbing gold because you bring back fool's gold, you can't get no return on that. So we need return. We need returns this year on this draft. Period.
That's it. Now, so let's I want to transition off the draft a little bit. We've been on it now for about 30 some odd minutes, and we have a whole show next week dedicated to the draft. And we hope y'all hope y'all join us for the live versions of the Draft House because we have a ton of fun doing that. What I want to transition into now, if y'all are willing, if y'all are able to switch gears, is I want to transition into some talk about free agency. There's a rumor floating around from some NFL rumors page on Twitter or whatever, IG, that we're looking at possibly franchise tagging Keanu Neal. Now, at $11 million for a franchise tag for 1 year, are y'all pulling that trigger? Because I don't know if I am.
Somebody else?
I'm not pulling the trigger. Keanu Neal's injury history hasn't shown me to be confident enough that I'm pulling that trigger. Number two, where's your money coming from? Because you still got a lot of other issues pressing right now that you got to work out. Speaking of that, Terry Fontenot mentioned about different scenarios that Chris Olsen and them are coming up with just in case the cap goes up a little bit more or stays where it is. You got to go through all them different scenarios, and I just don't see the future of Keanu Neal being one of those scenarios that you're going with to be the guy you're going to franchise tag. Anybody you're going to do that with, I think, would be Younghoe Koo and not Keanu Neal.
And I completely agree. I mean, especially in the fact that, there is no, organizational loyalty to Keanu Neal. What I mean by that is nobody in that building outside of Rich McKay and Arthur Blank have any ties to Keanu Neal, right? So you're looking at a player who had a solid bounce back year, okay?
Yeah,
okay, he had a solid bounce back year, but he is not a Dean Pease-esque safety in my opinion. Like I did some digging, obviously the show that's going to come out on Saturday into the safety position. But the one thing I found and one thing I figured out, and anybody in chat can correct me if I'm wrong, because as I've said before, we're all just fans. We have access to the same information as each other. I ain't got nothing that y'all ain't got. But what I found looking at how Dean Pease deploys his guys, the safeties are almost interchangeable. When he's in Baltimore, 1 year he had Eric Weddle at strong safety. The next year he had Eric Weddle at free safety. You see what I'm saying? It didn't matter.
You go.
And they're all, so I just don't think Keanu Neal covers well enough. Like he can in a pinch, right? But what Keanu Neal does is dislocate your soul from your body, right? That's his calling card. That I'm gonna, knock you out, so to speak. But I don't know if I trust him necessarily to throw him into coverage on your best receiver so that I can disguise a blitz coming from the other side, which is really what Dean Pease likes to try to do. You know, I'll give y'all a free stat, okay? In my research, I'll give you a free stat on Mr. Pease. In the 4 years, the 4+ years he was in the Ravens DC, the safeties alone had over 16 interceptions.
Yeah,
there
you go.
The 2 years that he was at Tennessee, the safeties alone had 11 interceptions.
Yep. And Bird had most of it.
You see what I'm saying, though?
Yep.
Is that it's a, you know, the safety is a pivotal position for Dean Pease in being able to disguise what he wants to do and where he wants to bring his blitzes and stuff from. Keanu Neal, as great as he is, he's a glorified linebacker, a small linebacker.
I wouldn't even go glorified. I said the only way we would even consider $11 million is if he commits to linebacker and we utilize him as a blitzing machine, coverage machine. We get max value out of Keanu Neal. And I don't even think that's possible with 2 ACL surgeries. No disrespect to him. I think he's been a good Falcon. But, you know, for $11 million, that's at least 3 positions of need that we need to spread that wealth out just a little bit. You know, just at least 3.
He's definitely a Dean Pease 3-4 linebacker, no question about it. If you want to go back and you want to go and franchise him as an outside linebacker, all to it. You might have some of that money once you restructure some stuff. You can re-franchise him as an outside linebacker because he definitely will fit in Dean Pease as a 3-4 outside linebacker. As of to today, right about now, Pease will love that. I know he will.
So Stu the Pepperhead done tipped us $10 because Stu loves him, and we love Stu. He said must free up cap space. He put it in all caps, so I had to get loud with it, right? And so he said, love me some Neo, but we can do hard work in the draft to work the system and get peeps in place to do the work. Look at our DC. He should be able to do this. That was kind of the point I was bringing up in, you know, in the video that I did, plus the fact that you have in a more of a Dean Pease mold, you already have that safety on roster in Jalen Hawkins.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Like,
and yeah, I agree. That was my next thought. We already have a Jalen Hawkins on the roster, and if I had to double back, and Toby D, I'm already ready for you to call me out. I jumped off your Andre Cisco train last week, and I'm off that little Andre Cisco train. But this week, I'm gonna jump and disagree with myself from last week. Because last week I said Paris Ford, he's a target and waiting to happen. But man, you know what? I look back, I was like, man, let me check out this Paris Ford a little bit closer. And I thought that, like, you know what? When I look at Dean Pease and I look at like a Paris Ford, that 3rd round, 4th round, to be honest with you, for $11 million, I think, like you said, the thumbnail is perfect. Where there's smoke, there's fire. And this is a smoke screen. I'm telling you, if I ever seen one. Now the Cowboys, they may pay this guy. Because there's been some linkage there already, but with DQ in the building,
you know, and he is, you know, that is his guy, right? From college to pros all the way out, that's his guy, you know.
That's his guy.
I definitely wouldn't be surprised. Adam Holloway said, "Good point. Dean Pease also ran the most big nickel and the most big nickel packages, meaning there's a safety in the box a lot. Kenny Vaccaro was that guy in Tennessee. However, they need a deep third safety." Right. I agree. He did run, like, look, in a modern NFL, nickel is the new base, right? It's just how you deploy that nickel that differentiates you from different coordinators.
Right.
And I think, like I said, if you go back, if you really want like some head scratching type stuff, look how Dean Pease used Logan Ryan. That is probably one of the most interesting things that I have come across in Dean Pease and the way he's deployed guys. Like stat wise, there has been no other player that has played for Dean Pease that has been deployed the way Logan Ryan was deployed for him. You see what I'm saying? Like, he'll use the guys to the fullest of their advantage, and that makes me happy.
And that got Logan Ryan paid too, because the Giants picked him up and used him exact same way, and he almost made the Pro Bowl and just got a new contract. So he need to get Dan Pease some of that money. He get Dan Pease some of that money. Go ahead, JR.
Ryan Lucas.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, what I was about to say is we got to give some credit over there to them bringing in John Hope as well.
Oh, man.
A lot of people, man, don't remember probably when he was the DB's coach for the Chicago Bears back when Lovie Smith was there. You look at the two guys he had on that back end, Nick Roach and Chris Conte. Chris Conte looked like a superstar when he was under John Hope, but when he went over to Tampa Bay, he looked like an average Joe.
Yeah.
You already heard Dean Pease said that on the back end, he didn't want to give away their trade secrets, but they've simplified that back end where those safeties can have the success that we've seen throughout their stats. Ed Reed, Bird, even I believe his name, Brandon Merriweather from the New England Patriots. Remember, he had a lot of interceptions under Dean Pease as well when he was the defensive coordinator for the New England Patriots. So I think having someone like John Hope with his background in the secondary, and we know that Dean Pease also has background in the secondary together, similar philosophies, a lot of cover two defense on that back end. I think those two guys together should be able to get this secondary right and bring in the right pieces to be able to help that secondary out, especially if they're going to simplify things and the calls on the back end.
Yeah,
I agree.
All right, let's get back into chat here, and we'll talk about King 7 says, what about Sherman on a 1-year small deal? Would you bring in Richard Sherman? Me.
Nope. He don't got fat. It's period. He don't got fat. And you're gonna take snaps away from my rookie cornerback that we are about to draft. I don't want that. And your crybaby that you gonna want more than vet minimum and all that. I'm good. He's fat now.
Okay.
I'm good. Go ahead. Who else got a thought on that?
Man, I'm right there with you. Nope, I'm good.
Hey, Jimbo fired out. I'm scared to say anything else but what Jimbo said. I love it.
He'll come across your head on that one.
Oh,
yes, sir. You said don't. And listen, do not mention Richard Sherman to Atlanta again, pound.
Please don't.
Okay, I'm gonna hit just quick thoughts on what are y'all's thoughts on Joseph Osaya and Jason
Osaya.
Oh boy, y'all hit me with these names.
Jeremiah Owusu. Okay, hold on, we got you. We speak jibber jabber a little bit because I caught Jeremiah Owusu.
No, it's not Jeremiah.
And I caught
Joseph. James Scheffler said Joseph Osaya.
From Texas. And did he mention somebody else? Did he mention Jeremiah Owusu?
Jason Owa.
Owa that's Penn State, I think.
Okay, I'm gonna let Jimbo take Owa, but I think I'm gonna let Jimbo take Owa because I don't know nothing about Owa. Right, but I thought it was Owusu from the guy from Notre Dame. I thought it was because I was like, I saw him, and I mean, depending on the way you look at Notre Dame film, he does a little bit look like he could be a better NFL player than I think Michael Parsons if you go there. But anyway, we're not talking about him. Buddy from Texas though, the defensive end from Texas, edge rusher from Texas, is actually a guy that I think fits really well with Dean Pease. And I think when we start to go, look back at draft houses, he may be a guy that we need to do a little bit more research on because his ball. I mean, we need guys that jump off the ball. I think, if you look at Texas, they haven't had a lot of pass rushers the last couple of years. They've kind of flamed out. I think Brian Orakpo was kind of like one of the last guys he had, but he fits that old Texas freak football player that can come in, loves football, and will make this team a better player, special teams. But again, definitely a guy we can dig into a little bit later.
Yeah, and Jason, ooh-wee, I like to call him. 6'5", 252 out of Penn State. The guy is a machine. Now, he's a Pease guy. No question about it, he's a Pease guy. He reminds me of a couple of defensive ends that Pease had over there at the Baltimore Ravens, Judon, guys like that. The guy's really raw now. He's a really, really, really raw guy. And he got a lot of talent. Big guy, like I said, 6'5", 252. But Penn State now, they defensive ends, they give you 1 or 2 years, and it seems like they start to filter out in the league to me for some reason. Now, I ain't saying all of them is alike. But a 6'5", 252 guy, I know Pease can deal with that, and he can deal with that real good. And the guy runs. He runs all play. Like he's one of those out-hustle guys. He's one of the guys that I'm going to out-hustle you, and he's big. So, you know what? I wouldn't mind to see this guy in a 3-4 because he would fit in a 3-4 perfectly. Now, and I'm saying he's a really big guy, but I can see him gaining a little weight and then starting to move down. I can also see him because he's just a young guy, young freak. I can see him getting big. Hey, Toby, you remember Javon Kirsch, don't you, out of the University of Fire? You remember the freak?
Yes, sir.
That's who he remind me of. But Kirsch he just kept getting bigger and bigger. They moved him down, and he just fizzled out of the league because he just didn't get big enough.
All right, now.
Bro, yeah, I know. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna hit this real quick with TV3. Then I want to get into this question that Ghost Pepper's got. But TV3 says, do you guys honestly think we can get in position to win next year? If not, we might as well go ahead and draft a QB. I get it. This is the debate we are going to have up until and through draft night, right? Is do we think we can win now? There's a staunch camp that says we may never be at number 4 again, so grab your guy now, kind of thing. I personally am not of that camp. Like, to me, if you find yourself in a position where you got to have a quarterback, then you'll do what you got to do to get a quarterback, right? But I personally think that we can win now. I think a good bit of our games last year was lost due to bad coaching and putting our guys in poor positions to succeed. Now, the jury's out whether this coaching staff is going to be good coaching. We hope that they're going to be good coaching, but we don't know that for sure, So there's like I said, that remains to be seen whether we have good coaching or not. We'll figure that part out.
Right.
But Ghost Pepper says now, he says we can bring in Malik Hooker for cheap, only if he can stay healthy, which is a big if. But if Malik can turn his injury problems around, then he could be the biggest steal of free agency.
No
that's
question.
Something I agree with. It's a guy I didn't necessarily look at when it came to doing the. I lost my desk. Where did it go?
Uh-oh.
My desk disappeared. We look funny now. Sorry. Look, y'all talk about Malik Hooker. I got to fix this.
Malik Hooker, he's 25 years old, coming out of Indiana with the Indiana coach. Now, $3.1 million is a steal. Wait a minute, now that's a steal. That's less than what we was paying Ricardo Allen. So if you want to bring him in on a 1-year rental, that'll be fine. Cover 3, he's kind of suspect getting back in disguise, and once he come, I watched a little film on him. Once he come up in disguise a little bit, and he got to get back deep thirds. It's a little slow on that. But I know Pease can fix that. This is what pound for pound ATL is doing. We put a lot of confidence in Pease. Pease and Dan Pease we trust. And why not though? Why not? Because it ain't like we put a whole lot like we did with a Joe Wick Jr. and no disrespect to Joe Wick Jr. But Pease got a track record of doing this. This is just real track record that Pease has. Malik Hooker can really excel in this type of defense and can help. He can help him get back in that. And that's the only knock on him that I got. When he disguised down in the box and he got to get back in, really get back in deep thirds, he's a little slow on that. That's because of his size, though. But the guy's only 25 years old, $3.1 million on a 1-year rental. I can take that over here in Atlanta Falcon Nation and see where it goes. What y'all thoughts on it, Mike?
Hey, real quick.
Y'all about to get me fired up.
Hey, I love it. You already fired up, and we fired up because you fired up. Let me tell you something. let me tell you something that I like about Malik Hooker. I think one thing is that he's one of those guys, like, he's in Ohio State. Correct me, right? He went to Ohio State, right? They drafted out of Ohio State, right? He's one of those guys that went to a really good school and was a good player at a good school and played on a good defense. You know what I'm saying? Just, like, period. Like, he came into the NFL as a sound football player. You knew a team that got him. You knew he wasn't going to be a star. You know he's not a star guy. Yeah. But you know he's a guy that can come in, play good, sound, fundamental football. And correct me if I'm wrong, isn't the co-defensive coordinator, the guy that we don't really talk about a lot, wasn't he the defensive backs coach for the Colts? Or don't we have the defensive backs coach for the Colts?
I'm not 100% sure on that one. I could try to pull up the roster.
Well, hold on. Who was our defensive backs coach? Wait a minute. Where did our defensive backs coach come from?
He came from Maryland.
So he came from Maryland. So I'm thinking about somebody.
He might have did it in the past. I don't know.
But I think there's a connection with somebody on our coaching staff now to Malik Hooker. My point is this, though. Regardless of who this coach was, Indianapolis, all of that kind of stuff, what I saw is a solid football player that is Again, you know why we were really big on Dean Pease? Is Arthur Smith in his press conference today said the exact same thing that Jimbo said. We are going to lean on
right.
Dean Pease. If Dean Pease wants this guy with a Malik Hooker, then that solves a lot of other problems.
That's all I need to hear at that junction.
Keanu Neal was a liability in coverage. Malik Hooker, yeah, he's a kind of a liability in coverage, but he's a guy that actually is a coverage guy. I really think Keanu Neal is not necessarily a coverage guy. He's got it like you said. He likes to lay the hit and get the crowd oohing and ahhing. But we need football players. And Malik Hooker, whoever brought that up, great point. We definitely got to bring him in. And
now, Stu the Pephead done tipped us another $5, which we appreciate that, Stu. He said, let the new staff cook and see what the result is. Patience is uncomfortable, but necessary right now. I agree. I mean, that's all we can do, right? Like, we can sit here and try to pontificate all day long. This is what we enjoy doing, which is why we are here, which is why y'all are here, because y'all like to pontificate with us, you know. This is what we do, right? And so
I like the big words.
He tipped us $5, so I had to try to use a $5 word, right? I only have so many of those in my pocket, you know. So I bring them out.
Hey, give us one more $5, baby. I don't know what he got. No, don't do that.
Let's see. I already hit you with pontificate. What about
okay.
Extrapolate? We're going to extrapolate all the pontification. How about that?
I like your dissertation. I like your dissertation.
See, you don't even know what a dissertation is.
Preach.
At you.
Preach, JR. Preach.
Anyway. But that's like I said. That's what we're doing.
I got
you. So,
yes, sir.
Anyway, let's see. King7 says, what DBs do you guys think we can get in the third? I'm loving Tay Gowan. He's fast, and he's like 6'2", 4.4 speed. It seems like everybody has 4.4 speed, right? And we can't confirm that this year because we ain't got no combine to be looking at. Which is what we should be talking about right now, is the combine.
That's right.
Yep. But we ain't got it. As far as like, later round defensive backs, they're all over the place. There's a few that are in Georgia, coming out of Georgia, that might be worth taking in the third and fourth round.
Watch the Draft House version of the live show, and you'll get it. You're gonna get your answer on that. Trust me.
All that. Let's see.
I got a guy, but if we save it,
I'm trying to stick this one more around free agent talk, so to speak. Let's see. Speed Falcon for Life says this team can win a Super Bowl. We lost 8 games by 1 score last year with terrible coaching and trash defense. That's that's what we're going to be hanging our hats on is can they turn it around? This is like Mike alluded to, this is a league that is built to turn around quickly. So can we turn it around? Can these coaches get them going in the right direction? It didn't take but one season for Stefanski, I think is his name, up there in Cleveland, Stefanski, to get them in the playoffs. So, stranger things can happen.
No question.
TB3 says, JR, no one ever mentions the strength and the conditioning coach. Arthur brought in his own guys to get this team healthy, get the team health together. Health has been a problem with this team over the past couple of years. It is not something we talk about because it's not something that is brought up a lot. But the strength and conditioning, that is a big major part of it. And
he got 3. He brought 3. He just added 2 more to Thomas Starwork, who was the first guy that he added in. Coach staff, and he added 2 more out of the 7 that he brought here. And one of them majors in hamstring injuries. Julio Jones, you need to hurry up and see that guy right now.
Right now. Okay, Arthur Smith. Here it is. Arthur Smith said a number of times, his version of the whole run and hit, right, or fast and physical, seems to be you want a smart, tough, competitive football team. That seems to be his mantra. Smart, tough, and competitive. How do you get guys tough? You get guys tough, but it starts in the weight room. It starts in the facilities. Getting those guys tough. That's so to speak to the strength and conditioning. Hey, right now I am up for changing the janitor if that's what's going to make this team better.
Right.
You know,
Right.
if old Bobby, who's been sweeping the floors for the past 20 years, like, let's bring in a young whippersnapper and see if that energy will bring some
It's just business, nothing personal.
Nothing against you, Bobby. I'm sure you sweat the floors.
Just a little bit quicker. Exactly. He just got that extra little push on his
but this young cat Tommy over here, the way he swings his broom, you know what I'm saying? It's up and coming.
Sorry, yeah, I'm feeling it.
Brandon Levy done tipped us $5. Thank you there, Brandon.
What's up, Brandon?
He said, we're going to get a defensive back. Get me Paris Ford. He can cover. He can hit. He has most important defensive back trait, swag. He's hitting me with a $5 word that I can't pronounce. Extra something. Man,
I don't know.
Y'all done got me messed up. Anyway.
Extrapolate.
Did he say extrapolate? Did he say
extrapolate?
Good job, Mike. See, Mike showing that corporate America coming out in him.
Mike, get it, Mike.
I'm just a dumb drywall guy. You know what I'm saying?
I stayed at listen, bro. I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last
that's
night.
What it was. It was the Holiday Inn.
Shout out to Holiday Inn Express. Shout out to Holiday Inn Express.
Hey.
Yeah, Brandon Levy confusing people.
Who hated you
but
so?
Look, I'm gonna go ahead and call it Paris Ford. You get him in the later rounds, and I think he could.
What?
Especially if you think that you're gonna get like a little bit more coverage out. Like if you're looking for interchangeable between, Jalen Hawkins and Paris Ford. Those two are very similar guys, Now, there was a comment that Adam Holloway, I'm going to try to scroll back up. Adam, if y'all don't follow him on Twitter, Adam Holloway is a good follow. He does some breakdown stuff.
Yes, sir.
Just real good follow on Twitter. We appreciate him jumping in the chats with us. I'm trying to find – he said we met with a guy out of Florida who's an interchangeable safety out of FSU. Y'all said this man's name.
Did we meet with Hamza? Did we meet with Hamza? Hamza? Was it Hamza or was it another guy? Just tell him to put the name down.
He had a name that I was not going to be able to pronounce. So
Nasruddin, that's probably what it is. Hamza Nasruddin. Yeah. Hey, Jimbo and I are high on Hamza. Like I said, he is the only guy. I repeat this week in and week out on a bad team on defense. Guys that still hustle. Guys that still want to fill the hole. Guys that still want to come, guys that just want to be out there and they appreciate their scholarship. That's Hamza Nasruddin on a team that's really bad. And let me tell you something. You need a lot of guys like that because you need guys that have come from environments that have been poor culture-wise who they might go into another environment where it's not, things may not be ideal, but they know how to come in and play football. Sometimes a lot of these guys, they have a culture shock. They come from Bama. They come from these schools. They used to winning. They start losing and that attitude shows. I think that he's a humble kid, good attitude kid, and he's a guy that now we talk about physicality and checking the box. I believe he's like 6'3", 210, and he mean with it, right? So now again, if he can cover better than the missile that we are potentially talking about franchising for 11.5, this decision is getting a little bit more easy. Jimbo, real quick, what you got on Hamza, man?
Just like I said, big guy, cover space, come downhill, and he can slow play with the RPO. You gonna need that in this new age NFL. And when I watched tape on him, when he came downhill to fill the space, he also slowed down and he slow played that RPO. He figured out whether the ball was going to be give or kept, and he pursued which way the ball went. And I like that. That length helped him slow play the RPO. You're gonna have to start covering that RPO here. So that's the new age of the NFL, man. That's right, what it is, man. And he's doing pretty good.
So
that's right, baby.
Nesbegon tipped us $5 and then retracted whatever question they had. So
what happened?
Man, Nesbegon, man, come on back, man. Bring that
question. So we can, that's the game.
I hope
right?
I hope that wasn't Nasruddin himself in the chat.
You tip us. You tip us.
Hey,
you definitely get to
talk
ask
to us.
questions.
Love to talk to you.
Say that, man. Come on, bring the question
back.
back.
Look, we're going to hit a couple rapid fire things. Justin Fields keeps getting brought up, so I want to address it again. You draft him, and the only thing that I worry about is that, yes, let him sit for a year or two, but every time Ryan has what appears to be a bad game, all you're going to hear about is put Fields in. So, to me, if you're going to draft Justin Fields, then he better start next year. It better be like a Alex Smith, Pat Mahomes kind of thing, because the fan base is going to lose their mind if you sit him for more than one.
They already losing their mind, Jay. They are losing. Listen, man, let me tell you something. It goes back to another draft house that we did when we talked about JF1. We, like I said, okay, let's touch on JF1 real quick, because I think I have seen something in the press, I think, that is a little bit overblown. I think there's starting to become some reports that he can't read the field and all that kind of stuff.
I hate when they start doing crap like that.
So the problem I have is, here's the thing. This is my bigger problem. What I'm starting to think is, I'm okay with us trading up Terry F-Way, but I'm not okay with potentially the Panthers swiping up a guy like that.
Yeah.
Because I do think that now, if you want to start another 10-year reign of terror, let me tell you something. We will lose fans weekly, not because of us, because of Justin Fields beating us in the interdivision, another guy from Georgia. That narrative has not been favorable to us. So, I'm not saying, hey, Justin Fields won or it's overblown. Great football player. I think he'll make a great fit for whatever system he is. But to JR's point, if he is not coming in to start, and it seems Matt Ryan, Calvin Ridley getting mentioned, Chris Lindstrom, which is another thing. I'm sorry, real quick. Let's deviate real quick. I thought it was really interesting that Arthur Smith mentioned out Chris Lindstrom as a linchpin of that offensive line, right? Yeah. So, that's kind of telling you his leaders. Now, he didn't mention Julio Jones. You want to know why he didn't mention Julio Jones? Because everybody was like, oh, he didn't mention Julio Jones as somebody that impresses him. For what? Because what he knows is this. Either, this may be Julio Jones last year as an Atlanta Falcon, period. Whether he has a good year or not so good year, right? So, if we're honest, right, we look at why he didn't mention those guys. These are the leaders. Now, what he mentioned, and I think that's an important mention, if we look at all that he said in his press conferences, he named out the leaders. He named out Calvin Ridley by name. He named out Chris Lindstrom. Like I said, he named out the other guys. That's the nucleus of this team. So, one, they're going to commit to Calvin Ridley. And you think about it. That still does make me think this as well. Is there a chance? Let me ask y'all this question. Sorry, chat. I just got to talk to the fellas real quick. Is there still a chance that we could potentially trade a Julio Jones, or is that off the table? You don't think any team would touch
money-wise,
it? Is it off the table?
If you're talking about just straight money-wise, it doesn't do much to help us. It actually doesn't help us at all, like as far as cap goes.
No.
Okay. But if somebody comes with crazy draft capital, then you have to consider it, right? There's no for financial reasons. There's no benefit, to trading him. Yeah. But
trading them Maurice Grossman don't do nothing when it comes to Julio Jones.
Now there's a few more I want to get into. We already over an hour, so I want to try to push through this.
Yeah.
Ghost Pepper says, "What are y'all thoughts on Richard LeCount out of Georgia? One of the favorite safeties coming out of the draft this year." Adam Holloway followed it up with, LeCount is a missile. People sleep on him.
Yes, sir.
Another name to throw in I'm incredibly high on is Jacoby Stevens. I haven't heard anything about Jacoby Stevens. Now, I will say LeCount is somebody that is on my radar just because, surrounded by Georgia fans at work, obviously. Y'all, and for the most part, y'all are Georgia fans as well. So that
we're gonna talk about it, and me and Jimbo are gonna take care. We're gonna talk about LeCount.
So y'all definitely key in on this coming up draft house. I'm gonna formulate a scenario for us, and so anyway, now Nesbo says just tipping because I love the show. Well, thank you. We appreciate Nesby going. We appreciate that.
Yeah, that works.
He said, but my thing was, we are going with Matt and going to draft a backup and learn, but our defense is our main thing. Giving Pease so much power, I think, main reason why giving Pease so much power. Yeah, I agree. I think it's at least early on. It wouldn't surprise me if Pease is here for 2-3 years and then his boy takes over. You know,
right.
I think that's part of the reason. I think that may have been the problem in Tennessee, as I don't know maybe if Vrabel was open to that idea, right? So anyway, that's my thoughts there.
I like it.
All right, Stu hit us with this, and I'm gonna try this. Okay, we were talking about $5 words. He hit me with a paragraph that I'm gonna try. Okay. He says, the juxtaposition of your collective pontifications are tantamount to the absolution of the amalgamation of the psycho-effectiveness of saturation of our allegiance. Also, just rise up.
Good God.
You should start or something.
Stu, that was great. That was absolutely amazing. I love it. Okay.
Stu.
Sorry.
Stu, what you on tonight, baby?
Hey,
Stu, what you?
It was all I could do not to just bust out laughing reading that. That was great.
That was
all right,
good.
a few more and we're going to get out of here. Duncan says Javon Holland is another good safety prospect. He is, but he's one
Absolutely.
that you might be able to get cheap, so to speak, in the draft capital because didn't he opt out? Because when I was doing research, I couldn't find anything on him from 2020. So I don't know if he opted out. Somebody can confirm nor deny.
I think he played in the first game, and then he opted out. I think he played a couple games, and then he opted out. That's what I want to say.
Iron Rain says Lindstrom is a linchpin, but Jake Matthews is not? Question mark, question mark. How did that happen?
Whoa.
Oh.
See, you don't even have time to go into that.
No,
I can't do it. All right, whoa.
That's pretty high.
Check a couple of episodes. Literally, check the last probably 9 episodes. We can answer that question over 9 episodes.
Stu the Pepperhead done tipped us another $5 word, saying, or tipped us another $5, and all he said was yes.
Yes,
Stu. We appreciate it. All right, gentlemen.
You did it tonight.
We have definitely did it. We have bought well up over an hour now. We're almost at an hour 10. We appreciate all y'all tonight. This was a fun episode.
We love it.
Thank y'all so much for joining us. Again, I got a deeper dive coming out on Saturday about the safety position. Would appreciate y'all checking it out. If you didn't check out last week's Falcon Eye View with Spotrac, please go back and watch that. That was very informational. We try not to be a commercial for our own stuff, but I think that one explained a lot, and I really believe y'all would enjoy it.
That was a big time informative show.
As always, y'all can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Grim1128, GRIMM1128. Jimmy?
You can catch me at Jimmy Obama, JIMMYOBAMA, and I appreciate the love, y'all. Keep it coming. Big Mike.
Hey, man, follow your boy at Mike Dub, MIKE_DUB. I will not use the word juxtaposition. Shout out to Stu the Pepperhead for juxtaposition. Everything you gave. Toby D, talk to these people on out.
Toby.
1991, TOBYD, 1991. That's when I became an official Falcons fan at a young age.
All right, gentlemen, fans, chat, everybody, we appreciate it. And as always, Falcons fans, rise up.
Rise up.
Rise up.